bottom right side. There is a Frenchman waiting in the yellow cooler. A Protoss player. It is DNS. From Root Gaming.
And in the top left, from a Team Liquid, featuring the portrait of the Mlem of the polar bear. Of course, it is Liquid's Clem.
All right.
I remember.
You remember?
I remember there was a while where Rainer on the ladder was running with the name Liquid Clam. Which was always fun because then I got to cast an ESL Open Cup Finals between Clam and Clem.
Right.
And I had to change that on the overlay, but couldn't change it in game. You know? And it was sometimes very, very confusing. But yeah, I mean, Clem's such a great player. We've been talking about it for the past 5 minutes about these two players, about how they've matched up, about their history. But of course, there's just always the part of we just enjoy watching them. You know, we're nerds, we're gamers, and it's always nice to see young players and old doing well and growing and adapting. And I'm definitely interested to see if Clem's TVP has changed at all, considering the new patch. Of course, I don't think the new patch really affected TVP that much at all. I think that was one of the matchups that remains mostly unchanged, aside from maybe a case where you're trying to build... I actually don't know. Yeah, Proxy Void Race really is the only thing that got nerfed. So it really does feel like this matchup should be mostly the same as it has been. So Clem's playstyle shouldn't change. He likes the early CC, likes to go into the kind of 2 racks, Widow Mines, Medivacs, or 3 racks, Stim Combat Shields +1, that kind of bio-heavy push and timing attack. And I'm sure we're going to see that again, or we're going to see that here in this game.
I hope so. As long as he has something in his hands where he can utilize this micro, and I'll be a happy giddy boy just sitting here, bouncing on my stool, waiting for the micro to begin. A Stargate from DNS. Pretty regular stuff. Gonna wait to see if he decides to just go for some Oracle, or if he actually wants to try some Phoenix stuff here.
Yeah. I mean, of course you are expecting this to be the Oracle in order to get a bit of that harassment down early. And see if that is going to be the case. It's going to finish up, and the build from Clem is going to be that early 2 rack. So it's actually doing a bit of a 2-1-1 here, which is really cool to see. The 2-1-1 in TVP was actually popular for a little bit. A lot of people were using it, but it did lose popularity as the Protoss got kind of adjusted. They learned, oh, here's the timings that you usually hit. Here's when I need to have units out. And then the fact that you just didn't have as many units out as you would like. Or you didn't have as many units out as you need to really push the issue. It just kind of faded out. But Clem's going to be using it here, and of course the change that you make is that you still actually get factory units. You delay your starport because you don't really need that medevac for the defense of like early blink stalkers. And you're just going to get Cyclone, go up to your 3 racks, then add on your starport. And it's a much more kind of balanced opening and a lot less focused on getting that early damage.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely interesting to see that from DNS with the Phoenixes, yeah. To be fair, like, where do you think your chances lie more so, right? Against a player like Clem? Are you just gonna try to stop him from doing things to you? Or are you gonna try to, you know, come in with an Oracle against someone with the micro of Clem? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like... do I try to micro against him at home, or do I try to keep him at his home? Just preoccupy him with micro there. 3 adepts. Could try to... Well, there's a lot of marines there. No stim pack yet, so... not much else they can do than that. Bit of shield gone. Do get one of the SCVs. Stop a refinery from being built for a little second or 2.
That is going to be about it, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Clem just has enough Marines out that you're not really going to push on in. And now you're getting that armor upgrade start up with the charge. You're going into your Zealot legs, and unfortunately for DNS, that's really kind of the only option for him right now. There's nothing really else that you're going to be adding on to try and help with this until a little bit later, just because the Phoenix take up so much of your production and, I mean, so much of your resources. So you're going to be going up to 5. Should cut the Phoenix production there. These Phoenix aren't really altogether going to be that useful. As you can see, I mean, Clem just already completely ready for them. The Cyclone alone providing so much ability just to push them back. So really it's a unit that it will be able to help with the defense, but that's just about it. I mean, DNS went for this opening. It really hasn't done altogether that much, and now we do have Clem looking for this push out.
He's still making more and more Phoenixes, and that's got me a little bit worried. That is still a lot of Marine, but that's a lot of Zealots. That might be enough. It should be enough here. Clem, it's very difficult for him to retreat here as well. May just have to try and use this stim to run away right now. Is what he does. It's a good thing there was no charge on those Zealots right there, otherwise that could have been quite devastating.
Yeah, as Clem just backs on up, puts down the 3rd CC, starts up the combat shields, and does add on his +1, which is actually quite a bit later than I think you actually want it to be. That engineering bay, I'm not sure when it was built, but usually you want that upgrade to be finishing up around the 7-minute mark at the later side of things, just because it's kind of just really crucial to have that +1 attack on your Marines again. Your bio as Terran, it scales so much with these upgrades, and having that +1 is such an important upgrade to have finished. So it's a bit unfortunate there for Clem that that's not the case, as this Phoenix Flock has gone up to 7, so DNS committing a little bit harder into it than I initially thought he would. But behind it, I mean, DNS is actually in a really nice spot right now. I'm actually kind of shocked, because that's a 4th Nexus going down. It's just charge lots here, and there's nothing that Clem can really do to punish it right now.
Yeah, I really like the way that DNS is playing this. I mean, like you said, going heavier into the Phoenix, this might be something he's doing specifically against Clem, because we've been talking about it for a while, right? This kid is crazy with his multitasking and multi-pronged harassment, all that stuff. What shuts that down the best? Probably Phoenix, right? You just don't have that mobility anymore. You're gonna have to be playing a little bit more conservative and more orientated towards timing pushes rather than doing harassments relying on medevacs, because they're just so vulnerable to that Phoenix clump coming in and shutting it all down.
Yeah, so, I mean, and the scouting information as well is absolutely so important, as this push is going to come out here from Clem. But there is just so much to work with here for the Protoss, and look at that counterattack across the map that's being prepared. As immediately some of the medevacs go down, the charge lots though take a lot of damage. They don't have the +2 armor just yet. There's no real spellcasters to help out with this. The counterattack isn't into the natural. DNS needs to buy a little bit more time, but mind you, I mean, this is a 4th base. You don't want to lose the game over this base. You can afford for it to go down. I don't think DNS realizes that, as he's trying everything to hold this. And I just don't think that was the call-up. Because look how much damage he's getting across the map.
Unfortunate there. Yeah, there was a lot of damage. A lot of SCV still going down, but just not quite enough. Top right side, there he is. The Frenchman from Team Liquid in the blue colors. He's a Terran. He's Clem.
And in the bottom left-hand corner, it is DNS. And I really want to see, I mean, I wouldn't even mind if DNS went with the same opening again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that might be okay. Maybe an Oracle first. I wouldn't mind it, just trying to do a little bit across the map. Then again, Clem did make the Cyclone without that much hesitation, so you might not be able to get that much done, but at the same time, you know, you gotta get something done there at some point, because otherwise Clem just runs at you with too many Marines to handle.
Yeah, And I mean, in the end, that game, unfortunately, came down to decision making. I think the micro, of course, there was a chance to, I think, mitigate how much damage the Widow Mines got done if DNS had microed a little bit better. But a majority of that, I think, really did come from the fact that DNS really needed to kind of assess his situation just a little bit better, because he did put Clem in a tough spot. Even if Clem gets the 4th base, if you suddenly are in a situation where you're, okay, either I have to push into +2 armor, charge lots, try and end the game here, or I retreat and concede that I've lost a ton of workers, my opponent can just retake a 4th, and they're ahead of me now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a rough one. I'm also trying to come up with maybe things like, I mean, he did have a lot of zealots getting a lot of damage done across the map. If you have those zealots back at home, do you clean up the marines sufficiently enough? Yeah. Not entirely convinced. I think there may have been an ability to clean up all the marines on his side of the map as well, just by, like you said, with being a bit more careful with the Widow Mines and having those zealots on his side, but then you don't get that counter damage rolling, and yeah.
StarCraft really is a game of ifs.
Yeah. What ifs and what do you mean? What do you mean? What happened there?
What do you mean?
What? Yeah.
What do you mean DNS lost that game 1? What? As it is going to be the Oracle first, as you felt like DNS should be going for, and I think it is on a map like Glittering Ashes that is so large. The Oracle is actually just really nice because it gives you that option to get across the map quickly, to have a bit of harassment. Of course, we are going to be seeing once again the Cyclone first from Clem into the 2nd barracks. So completely the same opening. I believe did go for the barracks, the 2nd racks first in the last game. So just a slight build order change. I don't think it results really in too much being different as Clem. Don't know if he saw that Oracle, because he did have that Reaper queued up.
Yeah. He already has the Cyclone at home ready, though. He's just sitting there. Can't kill the Oracle on its own, or at least it really shouldn't. Not straight away.
I like that. Yeah, Revelation has just popped, so DNS is going to be able to keep track of the position of the Cyclone and use this Oracle for scouting. And he's actually not even going to be going into Phoenix this game. We'll just be immediately into the Twilight Council, the Blink, and additional gateways as the 3rd Nexus goes down. And honestly, I really love how just greedy DNS is being against Clem. And it's because Clem, we always say, oh wow, Clem can be so aggressive, his micro's so good. But Clem is also one of the greediest Terrans that you'll see sometimes, where he says, all right, here's my build. I'm going to, get a 3rd base. I'm going to build a bunch of units. And he leaves it up to the opponent to respond correctly and kind of face him in that micro battle that eventually is going to come. And it's kind of a completely different type of greed, but it does mean that DNS, or the opponent, if you assess the position correctly, you have that time before that timely attack comes out where you know exactly what kind of pressure is going to be coming across the map, and you can prepare for it or be as greedy as you want in response to it.
Yeah, for sure. 2 ways to get ahead. Either just put a dink in your opponent, or just get more stuff yourself a little bit quicker, because, well, as long as you can get away with it, of course. Blink about to finish up. I like the position of these Stalkers as well. It's going to be difficult to take out any drops, but you will be able to see any pushes incoming, which is a lot seemingly more likely to happen in this situation here for Clem. Ooh, that's the bunker too. No repairs at all.
Yeah, very nicely played there by the Blink Stalkers. Blink on out now. The micro has actually been pretty decent here by DNS. Only loses a single Stalker. And that's the kind of pressure that you like to see with these Blink Stalkers, is you get a bit of damage, but you're not being too greedy about it. You back up when you know that that's as much as you can get. And behind it, DNS, I mean, he's on 59 workers. He's got 3 saturated bases, so it's 6 more gateways and charge and zealot legs on the way. And now he can start to just, I mean, pick off reinforcements. He can even deny this 3rd base But I think across the map, Clem can absolutely try and just kill the third of his opponents. Immediately, the shield battery overcharge is going to go down. The recall, where is it actually? I think the recall was into the natural. No, it's in the main. But Clem is still not going to back up. He's not going to press in.
Yeah, I mean, he couldn't quite get those force fields onto the ramp either. I think that could have helped out. Kind of empty sentries right now. But he certainly does have enough stalkers here, as long as his micro is good.
Yeah, I mean, this is so many stalkers, actually. The bio is going to have a hard time fighting it straight up. Clem not going to be able to really push this position, but Concussive Shell is available, so that means these stalkers get slowed down. Sentry is picked off. Charge lots are being produced, and mind you, there's no workers in production, so it's just army right now from DNS. That's 5 zealots at once. Those gateways finally coming into use, and from this point on, DNS, I mean, is able to hold the third. He's actually going to try and press this position as well. Recognizes that Clem just does not have enough, and this Widowmine tries to find its way in the medevac into that third base mineral line. DNS is once again going to start setting up this zealot counterattack.
Very nice, and hopefully it's going to happen right at the moment when Clem is sending out some extra reinforcements. Ooh, the single Widowmine there, 3 probes. That's alright. It's, you know, it's the start of his economic downfall. Pretty big losses here for the army of Clem, though. Maybe anticipating more units to be coming in, but the zealots are there, kind of blockading the exit of the natural base. 11 workers going down as well. This is a lot of damage.
These counterattacks. This is what DNS needed to do last game. You give up the 4th because it was so greedy to take it that quickly. And now suddenly you just have so many units across the map. He's found a surround on these Marauders, but he's got to blink on out. They just deal too well with the Stalkers. But you've killed 26 SCVs. Wow. You've done a massive amount of damage. You're still on 3 bases. Sure, you're going to lose a lot of these units, but that means you just need to focus on remaxing back at home. The recall goes through. Some of the Stalkers are going to get out. Only 2.
Yeah,
but DNS.
Army supply for Clem is as well very close to DNS. As long as, well, he loses 3 Stalkers there. That's not the greatest thing. Clem, he might just have to just start pushing across the map here. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like a situation where now Clem, I mean, he doesn't want to, though. Mind you, Clem does have 3 CCs. You do have access to, of course, the mules, which can give you a massive advantage in your income. As DNS is just pushing out here with a few Stalkers, and I gotta say, I mean, DNS really, really impressing me in these 2 games. Is once again going to set up that Zealot counterattack. Doesn't have +2 done just yet, but he has so much to work with. He has so many Zealots, so many Stalkers, and it's really a situation of if Clem ever oversteps his bounds, then his army can just get chased down.
Yeah, so he's got to be extra careful. And I mean, also still those warpins on the side, just, well, are coming in. He is able to deal with them there. Kind of looking at the overall worker supply as well, it seems like DNS without that 4th base is still, you know, he's not won this game just quite yet. He has a pretty good start here, but I feel like Clem, it's almost as if he hasn't taken that much damage just quite yet, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he's been able to get up back to a healthy SCV count, but now Archons are here. And Clem's just been continually fighting. I mean, this is what we talk about. Clem's micro is so good. He's just able to continually kite these units, continually fight, and find these trades even when it feels like he shouldn't be able to. And now he's fighting at the front, but another Zealot counterattack is going in the side. Widowmines are there. I don't know if Clem is paying attention just yet, as already SCVs are going down. He just doesn't have a lot of units, and Ghosts are actually going to get caught out now. And those are units that you really can't afford to lose right now. DNS's supply is dropping. You know, he's continually fighting here. And of course, it feels like it's not the most efficient. But the thing is, DNS has a 4th base behind this. DNS has +2 attack finishing up. DNS is keeping Clem in his base. He's continually knocking down that SCV count. And so even if DNS is dropping in supply, it just doesn't really matter in the long run because he's going to have more stuff to replenish it with.
Yeah, for sure. Clem is still ahead on supply, though, which is just a remarkable thing here. I feel like any other, well, a lot of other Terrans you know, given the circumstances, what they've been put through, it probably wouldn't be looking like this anymore. But here he is, still looking pretty sharp. 66 army supply versus 38. He has those ghosts with his push here, right? He does, and that is mostly Archons and not much other AoE splash damage. To be fair, West, it's not that much bio there either.
Yeah, the first EMP does kind of whiff. Shield battery overcharge immediately, recharges those shields. As DNS, I don't really like fighting this up the ramp. You actually are pretty far ahead, so I don't think you need to trade that aggressively. We'll get back to the safety of his shield batteries. We'll get the shields back onto those Archons, and now more warpers can come through. Immortals in production. Robotics at bay on the way. And that just means that right now, DNS, I mean, again, he's continually trying to push his advantages. And he knows that right now, as long as he keeps trading and he keeps finding damage against Clem, even though it's at a slight deficit, it's still better for him because he has more of an economy to work with. Clem has caught up very nicely, though. It's 64 workers for the Terran. And honestly, I have no idea how Clem is still in this, but this third base is now under attack.
It's like a magician. It's like, look, now I'm floating, and now it's like, summons in 5 SCVs from one orbital. I don't know how he does it. We will have to investigate this replay for cheating. It must be.
I mean, I think what's even the annoying part for DNS is that it's so hard for him to end the game with just bio units. Because ghosts are out, widow mines are out. You know, it's Marine Marauder bio. Working with +1/+1, it's very hard to end the game with it. And so Clem has been able to stay in the game. He's been able to replenish his worker count and just continually take these trades while not losing too much.
Yeah. I think it's the correct choice from Terrans to try and incorporate Ghost a little bit quicker against this type of style of Protoss. Because, you know, once you have that big clump of Zealots, the one EMP does so much damage with all those tiny little Zealots back together, you know? It's just so much more damage an EMP does than it would against something that has like a big Colossus in there, a Disruptor or something like that. 10 probes getting shaved off there also. And Clem how is he winning this? How is he doing this?
I mean, 2 Colossus are on the way, so DNS is finally going to try and get up some splash damage, which is what he's desperately needed this whole game. He's just never had a chance to incorporate into his army. I mean, I would have loved if DNS had instead, gone into High Templar. Of course, has the DT Shrine on the way, and I think does have a Templar Archives, but he never went into Storm. He's just been focusing on minerals.
Yeah.
The gas income hasn't been a priority. It's a situation where now finally with with Colossus being added on, this can actually swing the game quite seriously. If Clem isn't ready for it, if he oversteps into the Colossus, then suddenly you're fighting into this massive splash damage with +2 attack. A scan does go down though, and that means that Clem immediately starts up on those Vikings. More ghosts in production, ship weapons +1.
And in a way though, Titan, I'm not upset that DNS didn't go for those High Templar in a way and just kind of try to stick out with a Gateway army a bit more. The way actually, we may have a big fight here. No, he's sticking around. Okay, so here's my thought process, right? A couple of High Templar might be an easier thing to EMP than, for example, if you have a couple of Zealots. It could be a little bit easier to just kind of pre-spread them before the battle, wait at the top end of a ramp, right? And take the fight that way and minimize EMP damage rather than try to bring in High Templar when your opponent is already that far ahead on the ghost count, Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And now, I mean, Disruptors are being added on, so DNS, he will be getting into that late game Protoss army, which deals so much better with this bio. As TT, just being a little bit annoying, managing to get rid of a lot of the SCVs. And I mean, right now we're just really waiting to see when this big fight eventually ends up coming to fruition. It's 2-2 for the bio. It's 2-2 for the Protoss. There's not a lot of Vikings out. It's only 2 Vikings, and that's actually a pretty big deal because 2 Vikings don't kill these Colossus very quickly. And if the Colossus are able to chew through the Marines and Marauders a lot quicker, then those Vikings will knock down the Colossus.
And with the Disruptors there as well, I mean, I'm loving what I'm seeing from DNS as well. I thought he kind of had it at the start, right? But then it's suddenly Clem getting all the momentum again. And now we're just in a pretty equal footing in the late game here. That being said, Clem... No, they have the same amount of bases as well. It should favor the Terran a little bit. He's no longer on a gateway army, so... Stargates, all disruptors... Yeah, it's just gonna come down to the micro of these two armies, man. And, well, we know Clem is pretty good with that. When's the last time you've seen Clem lose to disruptor shots? When is the...
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen often. As here we go, one gonna go out. A ghost will get picked off, and that's already a pretty nice start to this trade, as those EMPs are big. Shield battery overcharge was already used on the other base, so that means that those Colossus just get absolutely shredded. Two of them fall. Or sorry, only one of them falls. The other one's across the map.
Look at that! Who does that? Who brings back the medevac quickly after realizing, oh wait, I can't dodge this disruptor shot anymore. Let me now bring in this medevac. That is crazy.
As, I mean, right now in this game state, DNS, it feels like he's on the back foot. It feels like he needs to find something to try and find, you know, a position in this game where he can actually win. And that right now, the splash damage is good. It stops Clem from really being able to push in aggressively. You see, as soon as the whole army is here, Clem does just have to back up, but the Colossus are getting knocked down. All three of them have fallen. And that means it's just the disruptors left over, but there's so many of them to work with right now for DNS. I mean, effectively can juggle these disruptor shots so he never is out of them.
Yeah, I can keep Clem at arm's reach here, but there come more EMP, and he is kind of chipping away at this gateway shield that is still in front of the disruptor balls, and as soon as these liberators come in, I mean, that's going to be a lot much harder thing to do. There he goes, jumping in for it. This might be the killing blow right here.
Oh my god, one misstep from DNS and Clem pounces, and I mean, he was behind this whole game. He was just, it felt like there was no way he would be able to find a comeback. DNS had all the cards in his hands. It's that disruptor shot. What? What?
I was so sure that was gonna hit, and then it's just like, whoop, it goes three ways. That's nuts. GG, man, GG. Well, he deserves that. My hat's tipped to him. Wow.